Hello and welcome to UC Today. My name is Kieran, and for this session I am delighted to be joined by Robert Graham, Customer Security Assurance Lead in EMEA at Zoom. Today we're discussing Zoom's new swathe of compelling security and privacy features and solutions. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I guess just to kick off then, Robert, would you like to give a brief summary about yourself and the work you do at Zoom?
So my name is Robert Graham. I've been working at Zoom since November of last year. Previously, I was at Mercedes-Benz Group. I've been doing cybersecurity for over 20 years now. I don't know anything else. And in the Customer Security Assurance Group, we're really sort of that connection between security and customers. As you know, I think a lot of us have seen and heard, security has become a bigger factor in a lot of these things. So it's really important to be able to have that connection to customers when it comes to their security needs and compliance needs and questions and that sort of thing.
Perfect. Yeah, we're definitely going to touch into the broader picture of security and the necessity of bringing very secure, very elite enterprise-grade solutions. But that's for later on. Before we do that, let's dive into Zoom's new swathe of privacy and security features. I think one of the most high-profile, when I think it was announced in June, was about Zoom's EEA-localized storage. What can you tell us about that new feature?
So paid customers will be able to select the option to have their customer content data stored here in the European Union. And so we do have a fair amount of customers that, whether for, basically comfort reasons or sometimes compliance reasons, that data residency is a factor. So they want to be able to store their content data here locally in Europe.
Terrific. And I think one of the other interesting new developments, where there was several of them stacked together, is several useful new tools for IT admins have been introduced, including data subject request management and audit log tracking. Can you explain these new features and what you're hoping to provide to end users with them?
Yeah, privacy is a very big topic at Zoom. We prioritize it greatly across our development cycle and release cycle. And so we're really happy to have been able to bring out these, roll out these new features. I think the most important one is the data subject access request tool that allows administrators to go directly and attend to those DSARs independently, so they can basically facilitate their own GDPR compliance without having to go through lengthy processes and things like that. So just making it more accessible is a big factor. Additionally, we introduced the marketing preferences so that more or less with one click, customers can select the marketing preferences that are relevant to them. And so they're not overwhelmed with marketing communications that they're just not interested in. So again, making it more accessible, more streamlined is sort of a continuing thread there. Additionally, we've added the ability to audit the log activity. So whether logs are deleted or accessed, you have that ability to keep tabs on that, which is a very, very important thing for me as a longtime security guy. And then finally we have the streamlined policies and procedures, so that it's even simpler for customers to understand how is Zoom handling privacy, what data, how is it treating that data, and potentially what are the risks, and that includes how we retain and delete their data as well.
Yeah, I think that's what stuck out to me when I was reading about the features and the updates was you touched on the marketing preferences there, and the improved visibility for how that data is being used. Is that greater transparency around data a real priority for Zoom to build that trust and that connection even further with customers?
It absolutely is. We're seeing more and more interest from customers in the areas of security and privacy when they're making their decisions on unified communications. There's a higher awareness. GDPR came out back, it was announced in 2016. It went into effect, I think, in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And even though you would think that it would be a very quick adoption, I think it did sort of take a little bit of time for those aspects to kind of gel across various companies and the population at large, beyond just those letters, right? That it really that people started to sort of internalize the concepts of limiting the data that you collect and how long you keep it. So what I really like is the fact that we've been able to partner with various organizations across Europe to facilitate our increasing privacy efforts. That's important because as an American company, I think we tend to come at it from a different perspective. Privacy is by nature very much a regional, in many ways even cultural aspect. I'm based here in Germany, a stronghold of data protection, and that is in some ways different than other parts of the world. And so it's really good to get the perspective of organizations like SURF, our trusted partners like the German Telecom. So, we've really been working with them to learn and grow and improve our privacy protections. Finally, I would add that there's even in some cases features and functionality that we've actually held up because of privacy concerns. So, it's not easy to make those tough choices. And I'm really proud of Zoom for being in the position to say, look, we're going to really prioritize it.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's really interesting how it feels like Zoom as a standard bearer is maybe almost translating to becoming more institutional. Obviously, we saw with the EU and the US the data sharing agreement that was reached a few weeks ago. It seemed like quite a bold new step and quite a positive step for hopefully pushing towards those levels of data standards as well. And I think that just the broader, I mentioned earlier, I'd quite like to touch on, to use your expertise and pick your brain on just the broader circumstances around security. It's obviously Zoom as with its UC and collaboration platform is very plugged in to the rise of hybrid and remote working. It's effectively the new normal. It's not going away, but naturally there are all the risks to data breaches that includes. But Zoom are absolutely at the forefront of this. It feels like innovative and groundbreaking technology is being produced practically every week to respond to these new challenges. And are the challenges of this migration to hybrid working and all the data protections and the data risks that accompany it, is that almost fostering greater innovation from companies like Zoom in response?
I certainly think so. And there's a couple different areas where we see that. When it comes to Zoom, I think it really sort of breaks down to three main areas. One is sort of the product features that we offer to, security and privacy aspects that are related to Zoom. And it could be as minor as just being able to blur your background. That's actually a privacy protection, right? It's minor, but it is definitely one. That's actually something that was an innovation at Zoom. As you move to other technologies, whether it's how you handle your waiting room or other security functions, end-to-end encryption is another one. Those are really meaningful, and they advance the security and privacy of our customers. So that is an aspect that we continue to see development on at Zoom to enhance the security features that we offer. And we have partnerships with other apps as well. The second thing is actually building the product securely. So, we have all kinds of aspects that are related to secure software development that are really important, so that our customers can view Zoom as a trustworthy platform, as a trusted partner for their sensitive. Not all communications are sensitive. Maybe that art class is not quite as sensitive, but there are a lot of very sensitive communications going over the Zoom platform, and so we need to, and we do bear that in mind. Kind of going beyond that is, and that's sort of the third sort of pillar as I think of it, is Zoom as an organization. How does it operate and handle itself in a secure and compliant manner? And so we've added a fair amount of security certifications in a very short period. I would like to take credit for that, but most of that already was moved, ahead in a very big way before I even joined. The number of certifications, and it's not just the certifications, it's really all the legwork, the hard, underlying efforts that really go into achieving that certification, was done in just a couple years. So we have now our ISO 27001, which really everyone should have. It's a basic, added the SOC 2 Type 2. Regionally, we have the C5 that we just achieved just a few months ago, which is a cloud security certification from the BSI in Germany, as well as the ACN and the ENS, which are public sector cloud security certifications in Italy and Spain, respectively. We have some other things that we're working on right now, of course. And I look forward to being able to announce those, in the near future. But I think those all really sort of come together in kind of like a suite of efforts that really all unified communication platforms need to be striving for in order to deliver the kind of security and privacy that customers need and require in our modern workday, in our modern communication activities.
That's terrific. That was really, really good. Thank you. Very comprehensive, and excited to hear what Zoom is coming out next. I guess the final question before I let you go, I think is I was reading a survey that recorded that the average internet user, their number one priority now is security, whereas 20 years ago it was ease of use, how the speed of using the internet, which speaks to quite a seismic shift in our culture and how we use the internet, and naturally with security at its epicenter. So I'm just wondering whether naturally almost Zoom's job in a lot of ways, and a lot of similar vendors, similar businesses, is having the product for these end users, both B2C and B2B, is not quite half the battle, because it obviously requires a lot of investment and expertise and time and effort, but communicating to these people and to these businesses that these products are available, to make sure they have fully protected networks, they have fully protected computers. And I'm wondering, is communication such an important aspect to this now, seeing this market out there that is very keen to have very secure processes in place? And it's almost like, just with the new announcements about the data visibility and transparency, do you think has that been almost like a strategic, maybe not a priority, but a strategic point for Zoom to be communicating very candidly and transparently with the users that these are the products we have available for you guys, and this is how best to make your services as secure as possible?
Yeah, and I touched on that a little bit. Is Zoom's sort of and I think it comes from sort of that focus on software engineering. That as a company we're very engineering oriented, and in software engineering we talk about continuous improvement, and so that willingness and that almost passion to learn and grow and develop is sort of, I would describe it as built into our DNA. And so doing that on the security and privacy side just sort of falls in naturally, is I think what I see on a day-to-day basis when I work with customers and partners. Now, I think what's sort of important here is to sort of acknowledge this aspect of security as a big factor in unified communications, whether it's selecting a solution or in operating it and making sure that, because there are customer responsibilities on that side. And if, whenever I talk to a customer, especially on the, like the IT operations side of things, I end up talking to a lot of security and privacy people more often. But when I do come in contact with IT operations folks, especially leadership, I try to impress upon them that keeping security and privacy sort of top of mind, in the forefront, as a sort of actionable or active criteria in their ongoing processes with unified communications is quite important. What we do see is that every now and again, that will be forgotten. Customers will get very focused on features or what have you. And the security team comes in and says, look, here are the things that you need to focus on. And, most of the time it works out just fine. We get that sorted, but you don't want to be sort of on the back foot. So, obviously I'm biased as a longtime security guy, but I like to impress upon customers to bear in mind how important security is. We've done surveys and studies on it, and it's shown that of the top criteria, security has become a huge selection factor. So, I think that's where if it goes well, it's not quite as noticeable. But if it turns out to be a hurdle or something that was not carefully addressed or overlooked, that's when you really run into trouble. And so I think that's sort of the modern world today. That's security is just a big factor because of we're having more meetings online. We're having more online communications. Those communications are more meaningful or more sensitive. It didn't used to be that there were board meetings online so much. These kinds of things just didn't happen quite as often. And so with that sort of critical mass, then security becomes a bigger and bigger factor.
100%. I think it's such a fascinating time. It's not just a workplace transition, but it's almost a cultural shift as well. Just almost all these new different factors. I say the idea like board meetings. It's one thing to have a work like a checkup or a sprint in the morning just with your team, but like the sensitivity of a board meeting for a large enterprise with tens of thousands of employees, the scale is significant. So yeah, I think it's such a fascinating time, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty more to talk about over the next 12 months, never mind the next few years. But I think that's all we've got time for today. So thank you so much, Robert, for joining us. It's been really enjoyable.
Oh, it's been lovely, Kieran. Thank you so much for having me.
Brilliant. And if you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share on social media, and we'll see you next time. I've been Kieran Devlin of UC Today. Thanks for watching.